hello, darling, and welcome to the Just Jax podcast. Hi, I'm Jax, and I help you find the can in your cat. When we challenge our cats, miracles happen, because when I challenged mine of I can't draw, I can't paint, and I can't color, imagine my surprise when I discovered what I can do is create a 21-foot garden mural that was recently featured not once but twice on the front page of our local newspaper. Next up, I challenge the I'm no author, no artist, and no cursive writing specialist, but what I can do is self-publish 3 books for my kick-ass cursive writing curriculum, Crack the Cursive Code. I'm a jax of all trades, but what I master in is helping ordinary people like me to do extraordinary things through laughter, tears, life-changing stories, because metaphors are my jam. Together we can find the can in your can'ts, the do's in your don'ts, and the wills in your won'ts. I'm so excited for you. Let's go. Darling, yes, you, the one carrying around that quiet little voice that says, "You're not enough. You're not ready. You're not lovable, or you're not safe." If you listened to episode 3, you already know we dove into the sticky power of that three-letter word, not, how it hides in our language, burrows into our beliefs, and quietly cancels out who we're meant to become. Today, we're continuing that conversation, but with a bring twist, because that's the thing. Once you start spotting those knots, you need tools to untangle them, to release them, to stop them. And one of the most unexpected powerful tools I've ever used to do that is hypnosis. Fun fact about Jax is that I am actually a certified hypnotist, and that I am certified in the state that Kimberly mentions in the episode. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Cue the pocket watches, the clucking chickens, and the culty movie vibes. But this conversation with my friend Kimberly Lynne from LYNNE Hypnosis will bust all that wide open. We'll talk science, safety, spirituality, and the real deal healing that can happen when you're guided back to yourself. So if you ever felt stuck in a story that isn't yours, or if you've ever wanted to reclaim your mind from the lies it picked up along the way, this episode is for you. Let's talk about healing those knots. Let's talk about hypnosis. Hello, everyone. I have my fantastic friend Kim here, who is from LYNNE Hypnosis. I'm going to let her introduce herself and how she came into this fabulous work that she does. Okay, let's start. What is a hypnotist really? Take it away, my darling.
So, hi everybody. My name's Kimberly Lynne. I am board certified.
So
board
that they understand.
certified is, let's actually take it back and just say, what is a hypnotist? Really, really quick. In the United States, there's only one state that I know of that actually has licensure for hypnotists. All the rest of the states, it's the wild, wild west. So anytime you go look for a hypnotist, everybody needs to do their due diligence, right? Check out their certifications, make sure that they've taken classes, they have ongoing training, and the very best would have some kind of higher membership in a professional organization. And there's multiple different ones. Check those out. Make sure the best ones have codes of ethics and ways for clients to be protected by making complaints and having people have their certifications taken away and things like that. That's all voluntary, right? Because it's the wild, wild west. So if you find a hypnotist that's doing that much, you can almost be guaranteed that they're safe because they are going way beyond the minimum, which is nothing. So find a good hypnotist, do good research, make sure that they are practicing safely and ethically, because hypnosis is really wonderful and really powerful. There should be a hypnotist on every street corner, just like there's a dentist and a chiropractor on every street corner. And it should be something that should be one of the first things you think about when you're going through difficult times, when you're having trauma and life events and all that kinds of stuff. It should be the first thing. So board certified then means that in addition to all of that stuff that I just mentioned, I went and did additional study and additional testing to get awarded I guess, the certification of board certification. So there's like multiple tests and a one-on-one interview, and it's a much higher requirement of only about like 1%, I think, maybe 1 to 2% of hypnotists become board certified. So um, it does mean that you're taking what you're doing seriously. And actually, I helped create the certification process for my organization. I am the chairperson of that committee that does the interviews. So I've actually double board certified in 2 different organizations. So I think that means I'm
You're the
pretty good
shit.
at what I do.
You're the shit. All right.
Yeah.
So now we're going to just touch briefly about what hypnosis is and how it
Right.
operates.
I like to tell people this way I explain hypnosis. Hypnosis is focused attention. So anytime you're really, really focused on one thing to the exclusion of other things, you're in some kind of hypnotic level of mental state. I don't even like to say trance because that's not even really what it is. Trance is an old fashioned word that nobody really uses anymore because that's not what it is. Trance makes us think it's something from outside controlling us, and that's not what's happening at all. Right. You're in a hypnotic, you're doing hypnosis, self-hypnosis when you're watching. This is my favorite example. You're in the movie theater and you're just into the movie and it's just so good. You just forget where you are. You forget that you're sitting in a seat. You're just in the movie and there's just nothing else. And you can kind of go in and out, and then you might come out and go, oh, I want some more popcorn. And then after you have some popcorn, you're like really into it again. So anytime you kind of like just lose track of what you're doing, where your feet are, the people next to you, that's also hypnosis. That's hypnotic. Driving, getting to your destination, but not remembering how you got there, that's naturally occurring hypnosis. So everybody's done that. And that means a couple of really great things. Number one, it happens automatically. It's natural. Your brain already does it. You don't have to learn how to do it. And with a professional hypnotist who knows how to guide you into that state, you should be able to do it very easily, even if you're not thinking of yourself as a very hypnotic person or imaginative person. Number two, this is the most important one. It means just like when you're in the movie theater, if the fire alarm went off, you would hear it. You would totally be able to pull your attention away from the movie and respond and do anything you needed to do to protect yourself and take care of yourself. And the same is true no matter what who you're working with, whether it's on stage with stage hypnotists or therapeutic hypnosis. You're in control. You decide how much of the instructions you follow, how focused you get. Like a student in a classroom, a teacher can be there talking, but that doesn't mean the student is engaging. So it's consensual. It's something that you do with your hypnotist. So it's natural, it's safe, you're in control, you can protect yourself no matter how focused you get. If someone said something that you didn't like, whether you were on stage, that's what happens on stage actually. They get 20 people up there and slowly they start going to sit down because the hypnotist keeps asking them to do more and more radical or funny things. And they were okay going up there, but they're not okay quacking like a duck. Right. So they go sit down until that one person who's just like wanting to be the star of the show is up there. It's all voluntary. It's not mind control. Nobody's putting electrodes in anybody's head and making them be in a hypnotic state. So hypnosis on the stage, the stage hypnotists imply that the participants are doing things against their will. And that's just, I think, a detriment to therapeutic hypnosis because it makes people afraid of me. And you shouldn't be, because it's all consensual. Truly, consent is involved. You know everything that's happening. So it's natural, it's safe, you can do it.
So, for people dealing with trauma, how does hypnosis actually help compared to something like therapy or EMDR?
Another word picture, think of hypnosis has the same goal as therapy, has the same goal as EMDR. We are trying to, so what happens when something traumatic happens is there's actually a psychiatric definition of what we would call trauma. And if I get it completely right, it's something that makes us believe that we are powerless to change, and then our nervous systems get overwhelmed. So then we can't process the memory and file it away where it needs to go in the subconscious. So what happens is, what you're describing is, as we're adults, anything that reminds us, that has the same emotional frequency of that past trauma comes up and visits us. And our subconscious mind goes, remember, we need to take care of this. What is this? What is this? But we still can't process it because our nervous systems, and it's just really hard. And so that's what EMDR actually kind of does. It neutralizes the emotional tone of a memory to be able to file it away, and basically kind of, it becomes de-traumatized. And so the cool thing about EMDR is, everybody knows about it, but the cool thing about hypnosis is that instead of having to work on like one memory at a time, you can do all the emotional resonance for that feeling, all the things at one time, without ever having to directly, what you are talking about oftentimes is some kind of hypnotic regression where we're actually in hypnosis, kind of bringing up memories. Well, I don't have to do that to help somebody recover from a trauma. So it's really powerful because we don't have to put ourselves in a position where we get re-traumatized by reviewing it. Sometimes that happens in EMDR. And also, we can neutralize many similar events all at the same time, anything with that same emotional frequency all at the same time. So I think that hypnosis is honestly, for most people, faster and more efficient than even EMDR. It's just not as well known. And the truth is, hypnosis isn't mind control at all. It's much, much different. And hypnosis has never hurt anyone. Hypnosis can't hurt you, actually. If someone is practicing real hypnotherapy, you're going to know if they were trying to give you a suggestion while you were deeply focused that you didn't like, and you'd reject it anyway. So it's only when it steps over into lies and manipulation and concealment and non-transparency that things can become mind control, but then they are not hypnosis anymore. To me, that's the classic misunderstanding of what hypnosis is, based on what stage hypnotists and movies and TV will show you.
Like the white soldier in the Avengers, which
Yeah.
is, the winter soldier in the Avengers.
Yeah. But see, yes, exactly. But that's not it. So when you're talking about programming and mind control and things, that like truly, like, I'm not an expert on any of that. Okay. But we're talking about manipulation of people. We're talking about lies. We're talking about drugs and we're talking about all sorts of other things. Hypnosis is just me talking and you deciding to follow my instructions. Literally. It's like watching a movie. It's like ballroom dancing. I get to lead, you get to follow. What's so crazy, what's so interesting and just crazy to me about hypnosis is actually how it seems almost how powerful it is, and how nobody's using it, and how it almost sometimes, when you're just beginning to try it, it almost seems like, is this really anything? What is it? Like, for about a year, I was having like this, like, what really is hypnosis? How can I compare this to what cult leaders do and this
Exactly.
and that?
Yes.
And what it really comes down to is they're trying to get something out of you that you would not want to give.
Yeah, and I think that's the piece that scares people, right? So what does a healthy hypnotic relationship look like?
But a professional hypnotist is transparent and on your side, and they would never take your power away. So they don't do things like imply or tell you directly that they have control, that they have power, that they don't manipulate you or guilt you into doing any of those things. All those other things outside of professional hypnosis involve some kind of parasitic relationship that is trying to extract something from you that you wouldn't want to have taken away from you. It's taking your power away. And working with a professional hypnotist is the exact opposite of that. It's open, it's transparent. We're on the same team and we work together. And it's all steps along the way are voluntary and consensual. So that's if you ever started working with somebody and they said or did something that you didn't like, that you truly were like, no, that's why would you say that? You need to question who you're working with and check them out. You know what I'm saying?
So, if someone was on the fence and they were sitting there thinking of wondering if hypnosis is for them, what would you suggest to them?
They're on the fence. Well, if they're the kind of person like me, I would say just start watching videos, look for evidence, read testimonials, watch videos that will really help you discover the kinds of person that you might want to work with, the people you know you wouldn't want to work with. And honestly, um, here's the cool thing about hypnosis recordings, there's pros and cons, right? Try it out. You can turn it off anytime you want to, just like working with me, but you get to try it out. So hypnosis and meditation, when people think of like guided meditation, they're pretty similar in the way that they sound and look. I would suggest people try a hypnosis recording first of somebody that after they've done the research, they think maybe they would want to work with, because that'll give you a real clue as to, is it something I really want to try? The con of a hypnosis recording, whatever the issue that you use it for, is that they're like a Polaroid snapshot in the moment. So if it does help you now, maybe it'll solve your problem, but if it doesn't, that means you do need to work with somebody one-on-one, because the difference between me and a hypnosis recording is that I personalize everything I do to every person's exact situation, blocks, and goals. So I would suggest a recording, and I have a couple on my homepage. So, and I can give you those links.
So, why don't you just
Um,
actually tell us how, if someone wanted to work with you, how would they do that?
yeah. First, go to my website, and if you're ready to chat, I always do a consultation with every person first, just to make sure that we're a good fit. They get to meet me and chat with me, and I get to understand what issues they're struggling with and what their goals are, because that's really important. Having a realistic, so hypnosis isn't magical, even though it does seem like, compared to everything else, it's pretty darn amazing. It's not magic, right? You have to be a participant, and you have to know, kind of like I said, everything's transparent with me. So I do all of that up front. So we do a consultation, we get to know each other. It takes about 30 minutes. You can schedule it right on my website. But if you're thinking, maybe I have what I call a hypno healing starter kit, and you can also find that on my homepage. And it's like a welcome video, a little downloadable guidebook, a hypnosis recording. There's a little quiz there, that helps you just kind of figure out where you are on what issues you want to work on, things like that. So you can try that if you're interested. But honestly, for me, I was very scared of hypnosis even when I became a hypnotist. But I was like, every step of the way, I evaluated, is this going against my belief system? And I never found it to be so, ever, not once.
So,
But I was very, all along the way, every step, everything I learned, I was always judging it off of what I'd already been told. And I never found it to be what people said it was.
well, that's a very profound statement, actually, what you said there, because a lot of times I think there's two definitions, because there's two basic fears. There's the one fear, I had the same fear when I was deciding to challenge what I believed in.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the leaving the flock type of thing, because you are going to have controversial conversations with people depending on how fundamentalist your religion is based
Mm-hmm.
on.
Mm-hmm.
My mother freaked out when I became a hypnotist because she won't even touch a tarot card. I would just like, how did some of that reconciliation, how did you work through some of that? Because I know that it's kind of a long time ago, but how would you like put this in on how this is safe? Because there's going to be some type of quote or some type of person that would try and block this. And I'm just thinking
Mm-hmm.
of what
Mm-hmm.
small reconciliations that you went through, that you checked off, that helped.
Mm-hmm.
Was there some science that
Mm-hmm.
helped you? Was there some
Mm-hmm.
research that helped you? Like, what helped you check off certain boxes? Because I'm sure that if you were like me, like was me, with I was already challenging most of this stuff, and I
Yeah.
knew that the healing process that was provided to me, I had already practiced and also had done. So I knew already that it was going to work. So that part
Oh,
was for me
gotcha.
was that part was easier for me because I never had to worry about the spiritual battle because I knew that all you were doing was dealing with my shit. That's the
Yeah.
entire thing. There was nobody
Yeah.
else's agenda in there but
Yeah.
mine.
Yes.
So
Um, well, I like I said, I was really worried. I did a lot of research and I thought, well, it was worth the time and the money for me to go get trained. But like I said, every step of the way, I mean, probably the most conservative person at the time to go through the program. I was in a very conservative, very strict Christian denomination. And so I was very concerned about it. And like I still take my faith very seriously. Like I'm a very spiritual person. And so I would say now I've never, no one's really ever asked me that. I did a lot of watching of cult documentaries and I really enjoy them, but comparing what those leaders do to what I was doing as a hypnotist to make sure I was not doing any of that. And I never was because we're not. Um, and really the thing that kind of like, I just knew I couldn't put it into words because I didn't have the scientific words at first. When I first experienced what hypnosis was, I instantly knew it was fine. Because
I
it's so hard to, okay, this is a very profound thing. Hypnosis doesn't feel like anything. So you're not going to, as a person experiencing it, you're not going to feel any different than you do right now listening to us talk. It's no different. So it's like, what was the big deal about? But I was in class and I experienced real hypnotic phenomena. Like I was able to do regression to a happy memory and I felt like I was there and it was fun and exciting. And it was like, whoa, this is all hypnosis is. Well, this is cool because it's at the same time, it is both so much more and so much less than what everybody says. Like in the best ways, all the way around. Like it's so powerful and it's so healing and therapeutic, and it is so simple and so non-threatening that people have the absolute wrong idea about it. And so, although I didn't have the words at the time, I was like, oh, this is fine. Now, still though, like I still kept watching all the cult documentaries to make sure. I read a lot of books.
to
If
watch
you're
for the
not a
signs,
hypnotist,
right?
right, to look and make sure, because I was like, I would never want to violate any, like go outside. I would not want to do any of those things, violate people's spiritual rights, take control. No, nothing of that. So it took me, yeah. So I read some books written by other hypnotists to get other perspectives on what they say hypnosis is. I don't know if this is helpful, but there have been in the last 16 months in 2023 2023, there were two really amazing studies that were published, both about hypnosis, both involving MRI. One looked at chemical changes in the brain and the other looked at structures of the brain. And basically, we're able to prove that hypnosis is a chemical change in your brain. There's actual changes in like the positive neurotransmitters, and that light level of hypnosis is much different, much different than normal state of awareness that we're in right now. Incredibly different. And that there is a smaller but profound difference between light hypnosis and deep hypnosis. And it proved that through MRI and brain scan. So hypnosis is truly something. It's not magic. It's not even spiritual if you do not want it to be, but it actually is something that's physiologically happening in your brain. So again, when it really comes right down to it, if you do your research and you know you're going to be working with somebody who is open, transparent, that you, just like any other business, if your doctor messed up, you would complain to the medical board and get his license taken away. If you're working with a hypnotist that is aligned with a higher governing body, you're going to be safe. So try it out. You're going to find that it's like both not anything at all, but also profoundly effective because it doesn't feel like anything. It just feels like normal, but it actually isn't the same. It's profoundly different, but you just can't feel it because it's all in your brain and your brain doesn't have sensory neurons.
It was very interesting because it's interesting on what you go through to figure out that hypnosis is safe.
I
And
know.
mine, it's going to be funny to tell you, but I had to fart during my process. And you never realize
To kind of
how
prove that you had control and that nothing was different.
exactly.
I totally get that.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I
Mhm.
sat there and
Mhm.
we're going through the process. We're going through the process. And all of a sudden I felt this little bloop. I'm like, no, fuck no, no, nope,
I love it.
nope. And I'm saying, continue with the process, continue with the process. And I was able to split my brain enough to take care of
Yeah.
my bodily function and be
Mhm.
aware that I wasn't going to be doing anything weird and still go through the
Exactly.
process enough.
That is no different than you having some really deep thoughts, but still arriving home somehow. You just don't remember, but part of your brain drove you home. It's the same.
Or you were listening
Be-
to an intense audiobook or something
yeah,
like that, and all of a sudden you're home and you're like, holy shit, where
exactly.
did that
That's what I'm
happen?
saying.
Yep.
Actually, I have heard that listening to audiobooks, the fiction, not a good because you're doing so much visualization in your brain. It might not be safe to drive, but because I've actually experienced that myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to focus on the road. This audiobook is so good. But anyways, it's the same as that. And I say that to my new clients too. I say, listen, I know this is the very first time. You are going to have other thoughts while I am talking, just like you're
Yes.
having other thoughts as I'm talking right now. It's no different. So that's normal. Don't feel like you're doing it wrong. But number two, if you like follow those thoughts too much, then we're not really doing hypnosis anymore. You're just relaxing in the chair. So bring your attention back. But yes, you're going to have multiple levels of thinking going on, just like you do at all times, because I mean, we've really kind of jumped over it, but the purpose of hypnosis
Let's just
is
do that.
not to sit and relax in a chair, although it is very restorative. It is to access the subconscious mind, but your conscious mind is still there. And if I had my little doodle board up, I could show you that the mind is like an iceberg, right? There's this line of water, and your conscious mind's above it, your subconscious mind's below it. Your subconscious mind is bigger, and that's all the internal garbage is. Not a lot of the stuff in there is good, but that's where the garbage is too, and that's where we got to get to help you heal. We got to clean out the garbage. But your conscious mind is sitting back going, what is she saying? I'm analyzing this. And so highly analytical people have to learn to not listen to the analysis as they follow the instructions, because hypnosis works best when you're talking and resonating on that emotional frequency, either positive if you're trying to build positive, or just for a moment, the negative emotion to get it neutralized. And it doesn't mean you're going to actually have to revisit any negative traumatic events. It just means how we find the file in the file cabinet of the junk drawer. Let's call it the junk drawer of where the garbage is. We have to use an emotional highway to get there.
Exactly. And that emotional highway can either um, make things, I find in some ways that make things worse or make things the same or make things better. And what hypnosis will do is slowly allow you to reframe it in my mind to make
Yes,
things better. Because what it will do is
absolutely.
it takes that portion of yourself that felt lost, abandoned,
Yep.
like having no resources, shamed, ridiculed, judged,
Yep.
laughed at, all of those things and all of that understanding of the experience. And then you
Yeah.
actually get to take control. And that's the weird thing about hypnosis is the exact opposite. You get to take fucking
Yeah.
control and put in your mind what
A
you
hundred
want
percent.
instead. And
A
this
hundred
and
percent.
this is where I think people miss the boat because you may
Yep.
think you're getting your mind controlled to get in there, but hypnosis is the exact opposite. And maybe
It's
that's
putting you
why.
more in the driver's seat. You are in the
Yes.
driver's seat, right? As a
Yes.
person. But what happens when you're in hypnosis is you actually gain skills. You learn, at least least my clients do. I actually teach them a lot of things. But what happens is you become more self-aware. You have a deeper, this would only help a person on their spiritual journey, because what are we all trying to do? We're just trying to love more, trying to be more patient, trying to be kinder, trying to stop overreacting. The hypnotic process in general is incredibly mindful, which research has shown just helps people be more relaxed, more calm, more peaceful, and just be more self-aware so they don't overreact. And then if you add on top of that, like the skills you learn about the things that you learn about yourself in hypnosis are incredibly helpful, because as you neutralize negative garbage from the past, you actually become more insightful and aware of how it configured the current you, so that you can immediately not only just neutralize that and not overreact anymore, but also make positive changes moving forward, build a skill maybe that you never built.
Well, it's very interesting you say that, because I was just thinking about a visualization. So, say for instance that you're in a situation right now where, like the Bible very well say that you're the clay, but maybe you have a
Mm,
lot of impurities and stuff like that in the clay that it doesn't allow you to form to the what you're supposed to form to, or what you were meant to form to. And what the hypnosis does is allows you to take a look at those things in a safe fucking place.
you're
Where
exactly right.
And that's the thing I think people miss out, is that
Incredibly safe.
when you are going into the situation with hypnosis, number one, you're never alone. Number
Yep.
two, you're with someone that gives a shit about you and wants you to do better.
Yeah.
Number three, it allows you to gives you a little bit of what you need at the moment to make the
Yeah.
final breakthrough that you want to make. And
Yep.
actually work within yourself so that you can get into the place where you can, like my podcast says, where you can do the things that you do never could do before, only
Yep.
because you may have looked at a situation in the past or even in your present, and you get to reframe it so that it's like you are be able to go on, you were saying you're able to look at heights, or you're able to
Mm-hmm.
talk in front of people, or you're able to excel at sports, you're able to quit an addiction.
Mm-hmm. 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 You're exactly right. In fact, okay, I want to share this. We've talked about what the definition of what a trauma is, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have an event, it simultaneously overwhelms your nervous system and creates this belief that you're powerless to change what's happening. Those are the
I love that
two.
definition, by the way. That is so
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
awesome.
It's really on point, isn't it? So, like, those are the
Oh.
two things. So then this becomes there's a file. I think of it like my little files. Okay. So in this file is like the narrative, but we also have the emotional content. And we have to figure out how they go together. And if we can't get them together, then it doesn't get put away in the, all right, we've emotionally metabolized this space. It gets left in like the garbage drawer, the junk drawer, and it's always being pulled out over and over again by the subconscious to try and get it processed. That's really what you're talking about. And so there's, when you're talking about a safe place, there's a couple different ways I think people can create safe spaces and process feelings and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
EMDR does the very same thing. And then, so the process with EMDR and psychoactive drugs like ayahuasca
Oh,
and
yes.
ketamine treatments. Okay. So what they're doing, both of those techniques, is they're getting you into a physically relaxed state where then you review the memory. But because the physical body is relaxed, it allows for the processing and the rewriting of the memory to neutralize the emotional tone. And hypnotherapy does that too. Only the nice thing about hypnotherapy, as I said earlier, is that with EMDR and the ketamine and the ayahuasca, is that generally people are having to do it one memory at a time, one trip at a time. With hypnotherapy, because you're sitting there one-on-one with a hypnotherapist who is advanced and trained, they know you can do it all at once. You, instead of like 15 EMDR sessions, you need to just like 3 or 4 hypnosis sessions, because it's much more powerful, much more effective. But really, what's happening? So if you can do this for yourself in prayer with your higher power, great. do it. That's what a lot of people do. You get into a safe, relaxed place, you talk and review what's happening, and it changes the emotional tone. That is how that we naturally process our feelings. But sometimes there's stuff that's just too big and we need a little help with. So we do go get MDR, we do go get ketamine treatments, or you come to hypnotherapy. So they're all four of those things are doing the really the same thing. They're getting your body relaxed to review the memory to change the emotional tone. And that's how we heal. So again, hypnosis doesn't feel like anything. It feels like you feel just like right now, but in hypnosis, people are most of the time more honest and open than they normally would be. It's just easier. That's why people can get up on the stage and dance around like Elvis Presley, because it just makes it funner and easier. And actually, you're talking a lot about like processing a lot of garbage, but honestly, I like to remind people that this is actually an enjoyable experience. You actually do feel better at the end of it.
Yes.
Even if you're talking about garbage. What happened to you when you were a kid and what it made you think about you isn't your fault. But now that you're an adult, you're the only one that can fix it. And you truly are the only one that can fix it. I, as the hypnotist, cannot do it for you. I'm merely presenting you the platter of options that you have to accept for healing to take place. But yeah, it's not your fault. And when you're ready, you get to decide when you're ready. You get to deconstruct that. And yeah, you can do it in hypnosis really, really quickly and really fast.
That's such a good point. Healing really. That's such a good point. Healing really is about ownership, isn't it? That the entire goal that you have is for someone really to just learn to love themselves again.
Absolutely.
Because
Yes.
once they do that, then they can become who they're meant to be.
In my experience, my personal experience, but also anecdotally with my clients, it is loving yourself unconditionally in the way that you notice your faults as well as your strengths, and accepting yourself the way you would want, the way that you strive to give love to other people and love others. That's what it helps you do for yourself. So therefore, it does not inflate, or it does not overinflate. It does not create super ego. It doesn't create arrogance. It creates humility. And it actually creates equality between humans. And it says, I am valuable and I see my own valuableness, I see yours too. I see your preciousness. But if I don't feel like I am very lovable, it is incredibly hard to see the value in other people. And I think a lot of us don't really realize how our anger and our vehemence and all of the conflict that we have a lot of time is because we are feeling so unloved ourselves and we are feeling so alone. And when we heal that and we become more connected and full of love, that actually creates harmony with others and brings us closer to everyone and not less.
And
Cool beans.
all right,
Cool
honey.
beans, sis.
I really appreciate
Take
you.
care.
Thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
your time with me. And
You're welcome.
what is your website so people can say?
LYNNEhypnosis.com. I'll send you all my info.
And it's
I'll
double
message
N
it to you.
LYNNE.
LYNNE hypnosis.com. Yep.
Name change, brand change.
Name change, brand change. Yes.
Well, thank you, honey. I appreciate you. And we will talk again soon.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye, honey. Okay, deep breath. Let's recap. Whether you've been side-eyeing hypnosis for years or you've already had a playlist of sleep tracks saved on your phone, I hope this conversation cracked something open for you. Not just about hypnosis, but about choice, about healing, about being done with the knots that have kept you small, quiet, or scared. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who the hell you are underneath all that noise. And speaking of that, next week I'm flipping the script again in an episode that's raw, real, and honestly a little personal. It's called I'm Still Jackie, and that's the fucking point. Because sometimes, after all the transformation and healing and growth, we forget that staying true to yourself in a world constantly trying to define you, well, that's the real magic. So, Thanks for being here, for being curious, for even considering that the story you've been telling yourself may not be the one you want to keep. Until next time, stay bold, stay weird, and stay you. You can find all my kick-ass Crack the Cursive Code stuff at my website on www.crackthecursivecode.com. There you can also find my loser, forthwith, and shift merchandise as well. Drop me a line if you want to talk to me on Facebook or Instagram. You can DM me there, or you can send an email to justjaxpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review or a comment because I'd love to hear both. Have an awesome sauce day, Jax.